Welcome everyone, I'm Ivy Rivera. I'm a psychic medium, a Taino Airwalk, and I own a school called the Ivy League Psychic Academy. Now, tonight we are talking about the Exhausted Intuitive's Survival Guide. A bunch of you have been asking for this based on some TikToks that I put out in recent months, and I really do think that it's time. It's so important, especially with the kind of year that we had in 2020, from the election to the racial injustice to the pandemic, more people turning toward drug and alcohol abuse issues. There's so much toxicity that intuitive people are accidentally overabsorbing it and getting really sick, really burnt out, totally exhausted and drained from it. So I know the time is right for this class. I'm excited to get into it. The Exhausted Intuitive Survival Guide. One of the things that always strikes me is that people hear what I do, the line of work that I'm in, whether I'm a pastor or I'm a psychic medium or I run a psychic school, they laugh at that a lot. And a lot of people will say, really? You buy into that stuff? You believe in that stuff? My first thought is always, you must be really weak. You must not be able to handle what someone like me deals with every day. Because my clients, my students, my fellow light workers, everyone I know that's intuitive, whether they really mean to tap into it or not, we all have to face certain truths and realities that others don't. People who get to hide behind their religion are able to live by blind faith. They're able to live with hope or blind positivity. They say, let go, let God, just trust, it'll work out. And that's great. Sometimes it's kind of like a fantasy world you get to live in. But when you're intuitive, you know the difference between destiny charted future, things that are going to happen, things that are fixed, things that are written in the stars, things that cannot be manipulated, versus free will future, things that can and probably will be manipulated. And we know that it's not always about being optimistic. That can't change the course of things sometimes. And that's a harsh reality. That's a burden that's hard to carry sometimes, especially when we want to save people or protect people. We want things to go in a right direction. And we live with the truth and the reality. Things like karma and how sometimes that karmic payout is going to happen regardless. So we live in a constant state of having to be mindful enough to ask all the time, what is my own energy and what is someone else's energy? We also have to constantly live in a state of balance where we need to understand when to let go and stay in our lane. And when we are responsible to help and assist, we have to know the difference between something that is going to happen and something that maybe could be avoided. Okay, this is a lot of responsibility. There is a wisdom in understanding these truths and living and abiding within those laws of the universe. And people who don't ever get into any of this stuff don't have to live and abide within any of that. Okay, so they kind of get out of jail free card. So this is really heavy on us. I think that many people aren't brave enough to enter into this world and see these truths. I want to talk to you guys about the signs that you may have proving that you are officially an exhausted intuitive. And when I'm talking about intuitives, I'm talking about psychic, I'm talking about mediumistic, I'm talking about empathic. You may not even know that you have it for sure. A lot of people aren't sure exactly what they have, but any kind of intuitive intelligence. And don't get me wrong, I say this, every class I do here, everyone has intuition. Everyone has these abilities to some degree, or we'd be dead. It's the human experience, okay? We have to stay alive. That's our gut instinct. But a lot of people have tuned it out, for sure. Well, those that have it to a heightened degree, or those who can't tune it out anymore, may fit into this list here that we're going to go through. All right, so signs that you're an exhausted intuitive. Number one, you have a terrible foreboding, a sense of something being horribly wrong and following you like a gray cloud, like a heavy, nagging, toxic energy, but you don't know why. You don't know what you're nervous about. You don't know what you're fearful about. You just feel like something bad is about to happen. Now, some people have this and or a sense of unfinished business. This feeling that there's something you forgot, or your work is never done, or you have to figure it out and find it and fix it. It's sort of a restless energy that never leaves. Number 2, you may have unforeseen triggers, especially when you're out and about around others, that cause you to get nauseous, really dizzy, like you absolutely must lay down. You would be happy to lay on the floor in the grocery store if you had to. I just have to lay down right now. Something is wrong. Something bad is going to happen. You may also not completely black out, but you may have disruption in your vision, like blackouts, translucent lines in your vision, numbness in the face, the mouth, the hands, tingling. Okay, many people go to the doctor and they say, I don't know, is it blood sugar? Is it blood pressure? Like, what's wrong with me? Can you find it? And the doctors are like, I don't know. So they run a gauntlet of tests and they say, I honestly can't find anything wrong with it, but it's getting worse. Okay, it comes and it goes with you. Here's another sign, number 3. You have sleep defiance, meaning you don't want to go to bed. You think you do, but when it's bedtime, when you're in bed, you won't let yourself rest. You won't let yourself go to sleep. You decide to stay up way later than you should. You're doing all kinds of activities during that time when you should be resting and recouping. And it's a way for you to get control over the fact that you felt all day long like you were out of control. It's sort of like your private little sacred space and time. And so you want to use it for all the kinds of fun things that make you feel better. That's a sign that you're out of balance. Okay, you should be doing that all day long. We're going to talk about that after we go through this list. How? Okay, number 4, you are lacking in peace and joy. You've lost interest in pretty much everything. Things that used to be fun to you aren't anymore. You just don't really feel happy with your life. You're not sure why. You can't pinpoint what exactly is wrong, but you're fairly dissatisfied in all areas. And you just have no sense of being rooted or grounded or sense of direction or inner peace. It's a very disrupting, low-level feeling, and you can't seem to shake it. It could, for many of you, look a lot like burnout. Number 5, you cannot relax or unwind. Okay, so you can't sleep, you can't nap. Even when you get an opportunity to lay down, you cannot let go. You're so uptight, it's like you can't take advantage of that downtime. You become quite nervous. Number 6, you have weight issues, metabolism issues, energy issues that fluctuate so badly that you can't find any type of a pattern. Your doctor can't find any type of a pattern. Even if you saw like a personal trainer or something, it just doesn't seem to make any sense. Why is there so much fluctuation with the weight, the metabolism, and the energy? Number 7, you are angry and confused a lot of the time, but you really don't know why. Number 8, you have a higher level of irritability toward pretty much everyone, and you really can't figure out why they're bothering you so much. Number 9, you have emotional meltdowns, like full on, you're crying over a commercial or a thought or a song. Maybe at some point in the day, you just find that you have to like go to the bathroom at work and you're just bawling. You know, you're just going through what would be a normal day of events in your schedule, nothing unusual, but you're losing it. You're having emotional meltdowns. You are on overload. Number 10, you are exhausted to the bone, tired and beat, and you cannot wake up. So even though you sleep, you rest, you try to, you drink coffee, nothing can restore the energy loss anymore. Okay? When you are sleeping well, you feel like you worked all night long. It's like this busy sleep, and you wake up tired. Number 11, you have anxiety, depression, ADD-like symptoms. This may come with headaches or like IBS, stomach problems, but the doctors can't find a cause, or you may not be diagnosed with it, even though you have all the symptoms. Number 12, you feel overly connected. You are constantly around other people, or you feel like you are through technology or organically. When you go home to what should be your safe haven, there are people there. You're around or connected to too many people all the time. And the last one, number 13, you are frustrated, anxious, and drained after shopping, going to work, going to a social event, even maybe something nice like going out to dinner, even if you really wanted to be there. Soon in or afterward, you feel upset about the experience, anxious, drained, frustrated, and it could last for days. So it doesn't really make logical sense. We are going to start talking about solutions for all of this, okay? The Exhausted Intuitive Survival Guide. Here's the survival part of it. And I do want to take a couple questions that members had posted. One of the members asked, so this is from Chicken Mama. Most of the time, I'm like a detective. I'm always looking for more. I call this grazing. What I mean is I'm looking for more answers. It drives me crazy. Sometimes I have to say to myself, stop it. Do you have any suggestions? Well, Chicken Mama, you gotta say, stop it. You know, you have to be mindful and disciplined with yourself. It's sort of like the more intuitive we become more like out of control little children who are just frantic. We're very emotional, and then we're very logical, and then we're very intuitive, and we're all over the place. And then when we're around other people or in different atmospheres, it's even worse. Intuitives pick up on energy from atmospheres, objects, others, animals, you know, it's a lot, spirits. And so when I went down through the list earlier and I talked about things like not being able to relax or not being able to feel peace or having a terrible foreboding or a sense of unfinished business, that was actually the first thing we talked about. That's where it's coming from. We are going to talk about solutions here, yes, in a second, but I love the way you said that you just kind of yell at yourself sometimes and you're like, oh my God, stop it. You have to. You have to be mindful and identify those thoughts and be like, okay, you're out of control. That's it. You're done with that. And replace it with something more positive. We have one also, a member, Bernadette, who said, I'm a problem solver. I have to stop thinking that I can figure out a way to help, yet at the same time, not dismiss someone that I really care about. Walking the tightrope of that is hard. I know, stay in my lane, but I don't know how to silence the many years learned problem of solving mentality, a solving mindset. So Bernadette's basically saying the same thing as Chicken Mama. And that is that, yes, you know logically you need to stay in your lane and not cross boundaries and not have a God complex and not tap into wounded healer syndrome and think that you're here to fix everything for everybody. You know that, but you can't turn off your brain. Okay, so again, that's some of the things that we're going to talk about here in the solutions. Identifying, though, I'm going to say the same thing to you, being mindful enough to identify when you're doing it and stop it dead in its tracks. Do what Chicken Mama does. Yell at yourself. Stop that. Stop that. If you know it's not yours to deal with, then you give the person reassurance that you care about them and you love them. And then you have to stop yourself from thinking about it because that's what affects your energy level, are your thoughts. That's what then affects your mood. And that's what's going to ultimately affect not only your actions, but also what you attract to you. So you're going to attract more problems, more problematic people, more situations that require your healing. We don't want to be giving that kind of energy off. We're not a free buffet of healing. We can't live like this. So Alex says, I always want to help anyone and everyone that comes to me for help or advice. And sometimes I don't have the answers, but I always try to find the answers instead of me helping them find it on their own. I now recognize I do this and I'm working on it, but it's tiring. I feel bad when I can't help them the way they think they need. Well, people are also very lazy. People would rather come to you and have you fix it for them. So you don't want to enable them. When you do that, it's not a loving thing to do. Enabling others or not causing for others to grow and take responsibility for their own life is not a loving thing to do. That's an egotistical thing to do. That's coming from a place of fear and control from your end, which means you're going to get karmic kickback. So they're not only going to have karmic kickback, negative karmic kickback, you will as well. So you're hurting them, you're hurting you. So try to look at it as though the most loving thing for you to do is to say, you know what, Ivy has this great class up on her YouTube. Here's where you go. Go listen to that and then apply it to your life. I guarantee half the people you think you're helping or who say they want your help don't actually want to go through the effort in the process of having to watch, learn, apply, follow through, And that's on them. So we don't want to treat people as though they're, infants. They have to step up, and you've had to do it for your own life. And that's a good way to live. It's the only honest way to live. I think the fact that you're identifying it, very much like Bernadette and Chicken Mama, is a great thing, because that's really what's required. Again, being mindful, identifying something, and then stopping it in its tracks. I think that discernment is a big thing here with all three of these questions. And if you haven't already seen it, I have a free mini class up here called Stay in Your Lane. If you're not sure whether you're supposed to help somebody or not, all you know is that you feel survivor's guilt, or you feel like shame over not doing it or doing it for them, watch that class. That will train you in how to figure it out right away, so you're not overdoing it and overstepping boundaries. We also have a free mini class called It's About Survivor's Guilt and a Need to Overgive. Okay, so let's talk about solutions. The first thing that you need to do is to stop when you're feeling any of these things on this list, and you need to say, okay, whoa. Is this mine or is this others? Is all of this energy or toxicity or heaviness or excitability that I'm feeling, is it coming from me, or did I accidentally pick it up from other people? You also need, number 2, to have constant 24/7 mindfulness. People talk about mindfulness. People talk about meditation. People talk about getting rooted and centered and grounded. People talk about prayer. And we talk about it like it's a hobby, like it's a go-to when something's wrong, or when you want to tap into the other side. And that should be your constant state of existence at all times. You should be mindful of what you're thinking, of what you're feeling, and what's happening in the energy field around you. So you're going to need to apply this all the time. Now, let's talk about 4 different areas of your life where you can use these solutions. So the first one's going to be personal space. The second one is going to be evaluating before you attend. The third is tools. And the fourth is techniques. So let's talk about personal space. Without apology, and as frequently as you need to, you have got to start taking more time away from everybody, including the cat, the dog, your kids, the spouse, the coworkers, the friends, the parent, everybody. You have got to start taking more time away from people. Now, you also need to make sure that you're not touching things. Now, a lot of people say, what? That's hokey. It's really not, because objects hold energy. We can measure this and we know this. And intuitive people tend to absorb energy. So if you're the kind of person who goes to the store and you don't want to take the first blouse, you got to dig all the way back. You got to find the 7th blouse or the 8th blouse. You do with toilet paper. Places like antique shops or yard sales bother you a lot. Everything has energy. What you need to do is to make sure you're not touching too many things, and that the atmospheres that you're in are of a clean energy. And if they're not, I'm going to teach you how to block that energy out. So you need to maintain. Okay. Also, you need to make sure that people aren't touching you. Now, I understand if you live in a place like New York City, this gets harder. Okay, if you work in an environment where maybe there are a lot of children climbing around all the time, this can get difficult. But you need to, as much as you possibly can, make sure that everyone stays an arm reach out from you. Your aura, we'll call it, your energy field goes further out than you realize. So does the energy field of everyone else around you. So people don't need to be in that close to you before you start accidentally absorbing their thoughts, their feelings, their physical ailments. All of a sudden, you become them. You start taking on their issues. And the closer and closer and closer they get to you, the harder it is to resist that. So try not to let people physically touch you or sit too close. That's called energy transfer. The minute there's too close contact, especially the full-on touching, whatever they had will transfer directly into you. I would also highly recommend, this is the last one in the personal space category. There are more, but this is what I'm going to get to today. I would recommend you sleep alone. Now, I understand. Maybe you can't have your own bedroom. Maybe you can't get rid of someone like a spouse or a kid who keeps climbing in there. but as often as you can. It's really important that you treat your sleep state as a sacred time of healing, and because it is. And when you have animals in the room, you have kids in the room, you have a lover in the room, what happens when an intuitive relaxes is that their guard comes down, their ability to block comes down, and they start to absorb whatever or whoever else is in the room. So let's use the example of sleeping with a love partner. As you doze off and you're vulnerable, you will start to dream what that person is dreaming. You can literally take on all their stressful thoughts. You become them. Get some space for yourself. Let's talk about number 2. Evaluate before you attend. So before you go to an event, before you log on to social media, before you go to a meeting, what you should do is psychically pull your energy back from the situation. I would recommend closing your eyes and visualizing the situation in your mind's eye and ask the question, is there any negative or toxic energy there that I should avoid? You'll see it in your mind's eye where it is, and you'll get a feel for how it's going to be or who it's going to be, what it's going to be, and you can plan accordingly. You can block, you can come up with a game plan on how you're going to deal with it, but don't go in blind anywhere. I would never just log onto my Facebook account and be like, oh, this is going to be fun. I plan things out. I want to see how it's going to be. It's known as a toxic area. It's like a cesspool. I'm not going to go into the feed. I'm going to go directly to my stuff, and I want to know what's there before I get on. So you should be prepared, and it's not hard to do. Get in the habit of it. It gets easier and faster every time. Let's talk about category number 3, tools. Tools, simple tools you can use if you are an exhausted intuitive to cleanse out that buildup of energy and to uplift your energy and help restore you. Okay, number 1, Epsom salt in the bottom of your shower. Run a nice hot shower or a nice hot bath. Keep it under your feet, okay, or under your body. Epsom salt is going to pull out the negative energy. Number 2, tiger's eye. Tiger's eye are those little cat eye stones. They're these little crystals. They're brown. I'm sure you've seen them before. Tiger's eyes, if they're cleansed and charged, if you're taking good care of your stones, you should be able to hold a handful of these and switch it from palm to palm. Keep them in your pockets or wear them as jewelry. They help an intuitive to get rooted and grounded so that dizziness, that nausea can go away, that numbness in your face, your mouth, your hands. It also pulls out headaches. I get migraines. So to think that I could hold tiger's eye and that would pull out what was supposed to be a full-blown migraine really blows my mind. It helps you to feel more stable in general. So it's sort of like, I think of that stone as being rooting, grounding. Number 3, quartz crystals. Those are the white ones. They're clear, really, quartz crystals. Get yourself a bunch of them. We sell them here at the Ivy League Apothecary. We can ship them out to you. You can get them online. You need, again, to keep them clean and charged. But quartz crystals drain toxic energy from your body and they recharge you and uplift. Black obsidian or black stones, wear them and keep them in your pockets. What these can do is to stave off negativity. So before it even tries to enter you, it will ward it off. It won't even get that far. That's a good preventative stone. Number 5, plants, flowers, trees. Go hug a tree, walk barefoot. I think they call it earthing now, okay? Be in the woods, look at nature, running water, being by water, anything like this. And it's really the same thing when we talk about animals. Empaths, animals are the healing entities of the universe that work under angels, who are the highest healing spirits in the universe. And so we work with each other. While we need personal space and recouping from each other, often animals will be very drawn to an intuitive, whether you like them or not. Strays are always finding you. Animals are always coming up to you. And that can let you know and indicate that you need their healing energy. So sort of like plants, use the animals. Number 6, chimes. I would keep them everywhere. I keep them up in my doors and windows. Chimes will just periodically cleanse the energy in that area and uplift you. It's very simple. And if you need a more thorough cleansing, you can use sage. Now, we have videos on this. I have a cleansing video up here on YouTube that you can check out for things like sage. Okay, you can burn it, you can spray it. There are a million other tools that you can use, but these are some of the basics that I found to be really effective and simple. Now, let's get into category number 4, techniques. Straight away, I'm going to recommend that if you want to learn the full technique, because I'm not going to have time to get into it here, take my empathic awareness training. It's a 2-hour class. It will train you in all the tools and techniques that you need to apply to your life every day so that you are knowing when to block, when to transfer energy out, and how to properly cleanse. So, different techniques that you're going to need to use. You need to cleanse. One of the ways to cleanse is to do a body scan on yourself. So I would highly recommend that if you're new to this caretaking and you know that you need it, stop maybe twice a day. Close your eyes, you do a body scan from the top of your head down to the bottom of your feet. Find the negativity and cleanse it out. You can cleanse it out through your breath. You can shake it out, brush it out, flick it out. The second technique you're gonna need to use is getting rooted and grounded. One of the techniques I like to teach my students is to close your eyes and pretend that you're a tree. I use this with children in the school system. It could not get easier. You just pretend that you're a tree and your feet are the roots. You visualize that roots are growing out of the bottom of your feet down into the earth. You can feel the gravity. You can actually at some point feel the pull. And that's how you know you are rooted and grounded. This works a lot like the tiger's eyes. It's going to keep you feeling better, less dizzy. Then what you really need to do, I cannot overstate this, people, you have to know when to block and you have to know how to block effectively. Again, the empathic awareness training is going to teach you in all of this. But I think not enough people block regularly, or they think I'll be okay, and then you don't feel okay, and by then it's too late. You can't reverse the damage done. So you need to take it seriously. No, we cannot block all the time, and blocking techniques do wear off, and they do have to be redone, reestablished approximately every 3 to 4 hours, depending on what you're using. And when you fall asleep, you're open and vulnerable. I think that we need to take it more seriously to prevent this from happening. The more you block, the better you will feel. But you have to be willing to do it and stop feeling guilty for doing it. There were many, many years where all I would see online about intuitives or empaths was that we're the chosen ones, we're the seers, we're the healers, and we should stay open and never block it and give it out. And that is ridiculous. We will be drained. You cannot pour from an empty cup, and the world around you will take your ship down. You have got to know when to block and when to stay open. Okay, both are appropriate, so don't be afraid to use it. And just let me say this, right? So whether you fall more in the psychic category, the mediumistic category, the empathic category, whatever it is, let me tell you, we are all the same on this one. This affects all of us. Really tough. I think that one of the things we talk about in the empathic awareness class is that you need to learn that you may have been okay in your past, spending quite a long time with people. Maybe you were okay to go to a bar or go to a party, get involved with more than like 2 people in a social event or a group setting. But all of a sudden, it's not like that anymore. The more intuitive you become, the harder it gets to be, even in small groups of people. And the amount of time that you can spend there is a fraction of what it once was. And the best thing we can do is to use the blocking techniques, to be mindful, reestablish them as we can, but limit how much time. Now, my grandmother, for example, was very empathic. And every time she would come to a family event, she wanted to park her car right by the tree out on the front lawn. And so she would know that she could just sort of back out and get out when she needed to. And my nasty cousins who were always like, why won't you hang out longer? Why are you always on the run? They would block her car in. And my grandmother would have these anxiety attacks. I would get so furious. So don't do that to her. Let her leave. You need to make sure that you have a plan and that you have an out. I also think that one of the things that can help a lot going into like a social situation is like, don't have anyone drive you. You need to understand that something just even simple like being behind the wheel can make you feel empowered about the situation from the get-go. Intuitives are no dummies. You know, it's like when I want to go, I want to go. Yep. When my social battery is done, it's done. And that's it. And I can't talk anymore. I can't really think anymore. Nothing's funny anymore. I've lost my charm. You've lost your charm. I'm out of here. And you better let yourself go, because you're also probably really tired, you know, like ready to lay down. Well, it's coming from, and again, I would recommend the empathic awareness training. When you take the empathic awareness training, I talk a lot about how you need to apply those tools and techniques for about 3 months before you start to see a major turnaround in your energy level. And then after that, it's easy. It's like a habit. So do that. But where it's coming from is really other people. It's coming from the fact that objects, atmospheres, and others carry a lot of problematic energy, toxic energy, low-level energy. And they involuntarily get too close. You accidentally absorb that into you, and it literally just sucks the life force right out of you. It's overabsorption. Yeah, a lot of my students have things like that, but, you know, I'm not here to prescribe or diagnose, so of course go, you know, talk to your doctor about it, but a lot of these things are connected, even like schizophrenia, people with dementia, episodes that you're speaking about, a lot of that, it's like a trance-like state. And so, yes, and you know, I have students who will go into that trance-like state. It's called physical mediumship or trance mediumship, and speak in tongues and things like this. So yes, it's possible. And when you are tapping into the right side of your brain. For example, when I give readings, I don't remember anything. I not only don't remember my client, but I don't remember anything I said. People will say to me later, oh, remember when this, and you said this, and I don't even know who they are. You cannot possibly retain a lot of the things that go on. And I think that's just for our safety, for our development, for our health and balance and well-being. We're not meant to. So it is very possible that it's connected. Yes, I have seen a lot of that. Well, I think that you have to do the research. So talk to your doctor, Google it, WebMD it, look at the progressions. I know that they are finding more and more like levels to something like that, and then do the research here. Take the empathic awareness class. Listen to everything that I say. It's a 2-hour training. Get educated, and then look at yourself and journal what you're feeling and experiencing, and when. Look at your triggers and journal then how it affected you, and see what categories you fall into. But it would appear that there's so much similarity between like empathic ability at the 3rd and the 4th levels and anxiety, depression, ADHD. It's so identical that a lot of people are getting misdiagnosed, for sure. And, you know, you're not a free buffet, but everyone's going to come and eat and peck. I see like, you know, almost like crows, you know, crows just coming and pecking, and we can't really blame them if we're not taking responsibility for our own energy and limiting that, okay? So the same way you know to handle a person in any kind of an interpersonal exchange and set those boundaries is the same way you should be handling your energy field out in the world every day. And your energy field when you deal with spirits on the other side, atmospheres and objects. Guard it, protect it, and don't forget, if you do want to use your intuition for good, like you want to be a healer, you want to be a reader, you want to help people, you cannot pour from an empty cup. You've got to learn to take care of yourself first. All right, thanks for tuning in, everybody. Thank you, Polly.
Very welcome.
Thanks, everybody. Have a great night.